All right, and we're live. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another workshop series. Today, we're diving into something that's all about you, how understanding real people's needs can spark the coolest, most creative solutions. Imagine solving everyday problems that you or your friends face, and not just by guessing, but by really stepping into their shoes. That's what design thinking is all about, using empathy to innovate in ways that will truly matter. We'll break down design thinking into five simple steps: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, using fun real life examples that make sense for your world. So get ready to jump into a really fun session, brainstorm like a pro, and even create prototypes because this session is all about exploring your ideas together. Let's get curious, let's get creative, and let's make ideas that really connect. I'd like to welcome our speaker for today's session. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Sindhuja, with an incredible journey that started at just the age of 13 when she stepped into the corporate world. Sindhuja has mastered the art of blending creativity, strategy, and technology across multiple industries. Her experience ranges from brand strategy collaborations with big names like the Sheraton Hotel Group and Vespa to pioneering AI driven career development solutions for students. As a young CEO and co founder, she has navigated the highs and lows of startups, transforming traditional industries into scalable and innovative ventures. Today, Sindhya will share her inspiring story and practical insights on how empathy driven design thinking fuels breakthrough innovation. Thank you, Sindhya. Welcome to the session, and it's a pleasure to have you join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to be part of Arise for You and what you guys been doing for the entire community. And I would love to do this seminar as well. And let's get started.
Great. Over to you, Sandhu. You can take over.
You can see my screen? Yeah, all right. Okay. So today's session is about obviously learning a structured, human centric approach on what is design thinking. So, as you heard, it has always helped me recenter my ideas into what, when we always when we get really into this feature development and, oh, let's get this done, let's get that done, let's bring in this feature, let's solve this problem, we often move away from the idea itself. And like we all know, that one question, that one sentence that pops up, why is this so frustrating? It could be at your campus, it could be at your just daily jobs or just daily commute. There will be something so frustrating. And not everybody turns that frustration into an innovation. So let's just try to take a step back and observe the world around us. Successful startups or impactful products or meaningful solutions, you'll notice one pattern. They don't actually begin with technology. They begin with features. They don't even begin with features. They begin with people, their frustrations, their behaviors, their emotions, their unspoken needs. Design thinking gives us a systematic way to understand those human elements before we jump into building anything. For example, even our most students or the founders, and any case, even the big company, honestly, every every startup experience this and they fall into the same trap. We get excited about an idea. We immediately start thinking what features we need to build, what we need, like we'll start designing the screens, we start imagining how the product is going to look like. The risk is that we begin building based on assumptions rather than reality, and the very assumptions can be very expensive also. This is where design thinking becomes powerful. It forces us to slow down for a moment and ask the very important question in the entire entrepreneurship. What is that one real problem we are solving, and who are we even solving it for? Let me try to frame it a little technically. Design thinking is not a linear, but it's a very iterative problem solving approach that integrates three essential dimensions: human desirability. Is this something people truly want? The desired feeling. Technical feasibility. Can we build it with technologies and resources that are available today? What are the business viability? Does it make sense financially and strategically in the long run? When all these three elements come together, we get solutions that are not just innovative but sustainable in a longer run. Solutions that people adopt willingly. Not that we have to come up with this crazy plans to like put that in their mind. You need this, like you want this. We've come up with something amazing, like why don't you try this? No, they adopt this willingly. Solutions that reduces risks because they are grounded in evidence and not just our assumptions. The beauty of this framework is that it doesn't matter what you're building. Design thinking provides a way to stay centered, focused, and aligned with real user needs. And like how Saranya put this, these five stages, it's not about the right and wrong stage. You can do this stage at any point. This is all about how successfully it has worked in the few decades and how this has showed a testament of time, testament of testing multiple products and softwares. These five stages are the ones that helps us realign with our vision itself. The first stage is empathize. It's basically empathy. We all think empathy is giving away something. Like sympathy is thinking, feeling, empathy is giving. But here in this stage, empathy is the process of gaining deep contextual user insights by seeing the world from the user's perspective, not from our own assumptions, not from what we think they need, but from how they actually behave in the real environments. Empathy involves observations, a lot of observations, how users act naturally around your product, or how do they even act when there is a problem arises. We interview them. This is like a important stage when it comes to product development. Interviews are these unspoken, hidden methodology that many big companies use. Asking open-ended questions, non-leading questions, questions that will probably not even lead anywhere, but we learn something bigger. We learn what they actually want or what they actually think. We immerse in their experience. We sit and start thinking like them. We start imitating them. We start learning their pattern, collecting their behaviors and emotions. We even record these interviews to go back and see were they actually frustrated, or is that what that person feels when he's going through that problem? Does he really like this product, or is he trying to please this particular situations because we are all staring at him? We try to analyze, we learn these patterns repeatedly, and we record these patterns, we record these emotions, and we document them. This is the stage of empathy. This is the stage of understanding your users in the most rawest form. So, throughout this session, I'll be taking you through two examples. One would be a campus Wi-Fi example that we are just going to make up, and we are going to take them to each stage and see how that naturally takes shape. And then we will take a successful company that is out there, but how they behaved in that particular stage when they were a startup, when they were empathizing with their users. So what is this Wi-Fi campus issue is, these are just problems that happens in any campus. If you listen quite frankly, there will be students complaining the Wi-Fi is slow. It keeps disconnecting. I'm not able to download this. My friend said that she downloaded all of these in the morning, but I'm not even available in the morning. I'm a day scholar. But hosteliers are able to do it. Now, if you deeply empathize with the situation and observe these behaviors of these students, this is not about just the Wi-Fi going low or like the Wi-Fi getting disconnected. These are crowd specific. There are this crowd during a particular time, they're looking for hotspots for stronger signal. They download the full course folders early morning when Wi-Fi is stable. They avoid library Wi-Fi login because it takes too long to interact with a website. They run to the faculty room to upload assignments before deadlines. There are multiple issues that can be simply put in as Wi-Fi is not working or it's unstable. But when we take each users and we see what their problems are, it gets interesting. We get to learn what each user profile is feeling. So this is where our empathy has happened. For campus Wi-Fi, we have taken the user personas. One is feeling the library login is too long, I'm not able to access it properly. And two, we feel like some users are overusing the internet and some are not able to get the bandwidth that they wanted. So these we are going to keep it in their empathy stage, and we are going to take an example of a bigger company. When Uber conducted the empathy research, they realized the pain was not simply people needed taxis. That's a very surface level assumption. That's what we all will think. We'll assume people needed taxis. Let's even get local. How did Uber enter India and then they actually became successful? Especially in India, when y'all, I think many of you would have experienced this. We would get in an auto and both of us would be so stressed. All of us, like the auto driver, us, we would have asked for a destination, we would have given a landmark, but we would be so scared to ask the auto Anna, like, can we please, can you go for another 150 meters? Like, I'll pay you extra 30 because we are so scared. This is the most happening situation all the time, that the auto guys would mentally abuse us with words, and we would get so stressed in the morning going to the office or to our college or to a school or office. Uber came here not to solve just one problem, because we just spoke about what we felt. Let's go to the other end of the problem. The same auto annas and uncles and the taxi drivers, they did not have a regular income. They were not part of some government jobs. They were always stressed out. They were always stressed out that they're not able to meet their ends, family needs, EMI points. So this is where Uber tried to bridge two things at the same time: the frustration of a traveler, the frustration of the provider. And this is how we empathize with the situation. We don't just empathize with one user. In our campus, Wi-Fi campus problem, it is not just the users who are going through Wi-Fi issues, it's also the management unable to provide larger number of Wi-Fis. They can't keep giving a lot of money towards internet. They have restrictions too. Now we learn both the side of problem, we understand these restrictions, and now we come up with the solution. So empathy is actually not about reading surveys. It's not about guessing. Empathy is not about building personas from imagination. Empathy means go where the problem lives. Watch, watch the user struggle. Ask, show me how you naturally do this. Ask the open-ended questions. Don't interrupt. Just don't interfere. No, don't influence. Don't explain. Just observe silently. Take notes. watch their actions, their tone, their frustration, their ease, spend time in the real environment. This is what actually empathy means. Let's move on to the next stage, the define stage. The define stage converts raw qualitative data into a problem statement or a point of view that is actionable and tightly scoped. For example, a good defined questions like I mentioned here, how might we? What is preventing the user from? What specific behavior needs improvement? We ask questions not to solve a problem, but trying to understand the problem itself. Here, let's try to apply it for our Wi-Fi campus, and then we'll also talk about how Airbnb did it. A poor definition would be the Wi-Fi needs improvement. Let's come from a very strong design thinking definition. How might we ensure reliable and uninterrupted internet access for students during peak academic hours without overwhelming the existing infrastructure? Now, this is not just about you getting all gadgety in, installing a bunch of Wi-Fi routers here and there, making the internet more faster. Now we have restrictions. We are refraining from going bigger. We have restrictions, and now we are going to have more direction towards the problem itself. Because if we could increase the bandwidth or come up with a couple of routers, I think the Airtel guy or the internet provider could do it himself. Why are we solving the problem? What is that? How is that change that we are planning to bring? So, design stage, we think about the deliverables. The real problem is in Wi-Fi campus, it's actually the peak hour congestion. The root cause is the device density. So many students are using it. There are heavy downloads, uneven load distribution between the blocks. Most affected users, could it be the hosteliers, or it could be the library users, or is it the lab users? We ask these questions. We try to define the problem. Desired outcome could be consistency, predictability, stress-free submissions for the students. This could be our very guiding campus in defining the problem itself. Let's take the bigger example for a moment. How did Airbnb apply stage 2 define in their product? In the early stages of Airbnb, their point of view was, how might we create a trust between a traveler and a stranger's home? So they weren't actually concerned about how do we have so many listings in our app which will make us look so the best people to look for when it comes to cheap hotels or cheap stays. That's not what they were trying to build. They were trying to build a bridge between cultures. A, a cute couple having a beautiful home, they're willing to rent out one room to a stranger in exchange of learning about the country, learning about the stranger, learning about their culture. They may not come from the same language, they may not come from the same country. Anything income out of it. Same goes for the stranger. He's a traveler. The traveler is not about, you know, fancy reservations, fancy stays. He just wants to experience a new country at a affordable price. This is where Airbnb bridged a traveler's emotion with a stranger's room. He created that bridge, he created that trust between both of them, and thus he defined that question, how might we create trust between a traveler and a stranger's home? Now, moving on to the stage three, that is ideate. Ideate is a very fun stage. It's basically brainstorming, but a little disguised form of brainstorming. Because here, you don't get to brainstorm like how we brainstorm a problem or a company idea. This is the place we are going to come up with solutions. In our case, campus Wi Fi. How might we improve Wi Fi reliability for students during peak hours? A typical team might immediately jump into the most obvious idea. Like I said, let's upgrade the Wi Fi router, let's increase the bandwidth. But that's not ideation. That's just a shortcut for a single solution. Like, we heard Wi Fi not working, so let's do this. Ideation pushes you to go far beyond the obvious. If you genuinely brainstorm without judging the ideas, you'll end up with a wide range of possibilities, such as, can we cage some of these online courses? Can we do load balancing between academic blocks? Can we set up hotspot routers deployed during only the peak hours? Can we install LAN cable tunnels only in the library zones for uninterrupted use? Should we have timed window access so that students can have a proper upload of their projects in end of their semesters? Now, in this 10 minutes ideation session, none of these ideas should be evaluated. Nobody comes and thinks about, hey, this is not possible. Hey, this is too unrealistic. Hey, this is too costly. We don't think about anything. They could be unrealistic. They can be unrealistic. They can be too costly. They can be brilliant. But at this ideation stage, everything stays on the table. We put everything on the table. Now let's look at the larger example, a global understanding, an ideation at a larger scale. Spotify already hit the market, okay? And every product will have a product life cycle. They have to come up with versions, they have to introduce features. But during this period, Spotify already have a lot of users and they're loving it. But the problem was people loved music. Now they're feeling overwhelmed. They have thousands of music choices and people are feeling overwhelmed. Like, now I don't know what do I listen to. I like this music, I like that music, but my head right now is jarred because there's just too many options. The choices are overloading and I have a lack of personal connection with this with this product anymore. Instead of jumping into one feature solution, Spotify used an ideation process, explored multiple possibilities by locking their teams by themselves into a room, and they asked these very important questions. How might we make music feel more personal, more intuitive, and more enjoyable? I think they would have asked at many points, but now the users are feeling overwhelmed. You have a different take on it. This single question produced a spectrum of ideas. Spectrum of ideas. This is exactly when custom playlists came into the world. Users now create their own playlist. Back then, it used to be there. We used to make music in cassettes, like our favorite playlist. We would just, we would do it the older way. I don't know exactly how it works, but we put it in the cassettes and we listen to ourselves. But that had its own limitations. You can only put 10 music. Now we have thousands of music, and I have thousands of moods in a day. I have traveling in the train mode. I have traveling in the no working in the office mode, having my dinner mode. I want to create custom playlists. This was one of the idea. And then they also found out this, which is still there. It's a very frustrating uh, option of Spotify. They don't allow you to listen to a particular cue that you want. Suddenly you want to listen to this song, and this song has to play next, and then this song has to play next. Only then I'll feel good. Exactly. He understood the pain point of the users and he put a premium charges there. You want to listen to songs a certain way, you got to pay me up, guys. So Spotify came up with these ideas and asking this very questions. How do we make it more inclusive? And also, it's a two-way game. The producers, the music producers also have to feel good. They also have to earn from this whole process. And then came this crazy idea. Spotify Wrapped. I hope you all know about this idea. This came from a very playful idea. What if we turned annual music journey into a visual story? Who would have thought this would have worked? This became a viral moment for Spotify because it represented who we are, what we like. Over the years, this is the kind of music I listened to. This is the kind of music I explored that nobody else did. I could listen to Tamil music, I could listen to English music, and out of nowhere, I'm listening to Russian music. I like all of these. That represented me. And I wanted to show the entire world because I can't just take a screenshot of my playlist and put it online. This brought in more uses for Spotify. Collaborative playlists. We all know how much we love sharing music to our friends and our loved ones. And collaborative playlists did the same thing. It was able to share two musics that both of us liked into the same playlist and we all could listen to it. And you think none of these ideas came from one single person? No. It came from one line suggestion, but it came from multiple people. And nobody stopped it. Nobody shot the idea down. They were allowing the team to divergely think and let the ideas flow, all the ideas stay on the table. In ideation, the focus is not about feasibilities or the constraints, it's about widening the option space. If you could ideate, if you ideate narrowly, you end up with the most predictable, obvious solution your friend, me, everybody could come up with. If you ideate broadly, you uncover alternatives you never expected. Sometimes it's breaking through ideas lies there. Like we would have come up with a particular startup idea, but then we would be ideating for a particular feature idea that itself could become a product tomorrow. That's why we don't think about any constraints, we put everything on the table. Let's move on to the next stage, prototype. The stage we all as a founders, we meet a wall. We think prototype is the most expensive stage. We all need funding. We have to do this. We have to prove it to the investors. Most students or founders make one major mistake at this stage. They immediately think about the tech stack, including me. I was once doing the same thing. I would think about the tech stack, backend database, UI, animations, deployments, materials. If it's an actual product, do I have to get this battery from China? Only then it'll work. Prototyping mindsets work very differently. I learned this the hard way, guys. Before writing a single line of code or purchasing that one material that you think could change your idea, you start by making the idea tangible in the most simplest, quickest way possible. It could be paper sketches, WhatsApp simulations, software simulations. You could ask questions and give options. A very human could be sitting and answering those things. But the point is to analyze your user behavior, your own consumer's behavior. How do they react when they see this? Do they like my idea? Do they want or do they need my idea? This is where prototype actually helps us. Let's try to apply it in Wi-Fi campus in Amazon. How do we prototype possible solutions without building anything? After the ideation stage, let's say we came up with two promising ideas for our very own Wi-Fi campus. One, let's say prototype A, it could be an offline academic content hub. Okay, the purpose is to reduce the dependency on the real internet time. So what if we bring all the courses offline. Like we could structure it, we could just put it for the students according to their classes. The prototype costs almost nil, but it requires great organizing skills and securing the data from tampering. This is a prototype without writing a line of code or investing in big gadgets. Let's take a look at prototype B. A quick login flow, a QR login flow. It's basically to reduce the friction in authentication and understanding each user's bandwidth without them feeling overwhelmed. Like, I have to log in. Oh, I have to log in every time. The prototype creation could be low cost or it could be your own talent. We create a Figma screen, 3 to 5 screens. We put a QR, we will send an OTP, and we log in and then we watch. We we just understand the human behaviors. We just analyze, we learn. What happens after this is all about knowing your user behavior. It's not about your product being the best, your product looking the most beautiful. It's only about are they comfortable using it or not. Let's take Amazon here for an example. It was one of the most iconic prototyping in the modern business. When Amazon started, they did not build an automated warehousing system. They definitely did not build a fully engineered supply chain. They did not build an advanced database. Their first prototype was shockingly simple. Jeff Bezos and his team manually purchased books from distributors, stored them in their own hall, personally packed them, and shipped them to every order. What are they prototyping here? Is it the technology? They were prototyping the behavior. They were testing the fundamental question: will people buy books online? Because back, at least in US, people love books. And bookstores were the reasons you don't see a lot of bookstores nowadays is because of uh, such big sites like Amazon. You have so much accessibility. But before that, let's also think when people had no access and people really wanted to buy a book, where would they go? So he asked this question: will be people buy those books online? What titles do they search for? How often do they buy a book? How often do they expect the delivery to reach immediately? What happens if there's any delay in the response? Or what happens the delivery never reaches them? How do they react? These insights could only be learned by doing the process manually first. The key takeaway about this whole thing is Amazon validated the behavior before validating the technology. A prototype can be a manual process and not necessarily a product at all. We have to keep thinking every ways possible to make the prototype happen. Let's come to the last and most shocking step. It's the testing phase. Testing is the process of exposing your prototype to your users and gathering qualitative feedback and behavioral data, then refining the solution. You analyze your user reactions, their confusion points, their decision flow, value perception, adoption friction. Now let's test it out in our scenario. What is Wi-Fi campus and how Instagram did it? It's just obviously everything has been, hypothetical. Let's say we first tested out our first prototype A. Our feedbacks may reveal students want weekly sync. They don't want one structure to be always there. They don't want the content to be updated in the beginning of the year and it shouldn't stay the same way. That's why they go for online. They want the content to be updated immediately. So, how about a weekly syncing? These could be the feedback. We want better subject-wise folders, want the ability to save notes offline, something that's not even what we planned for. Content should load without buffering. They prefer a dedicated app tile. You'll have different kind of feedbacks. Some things that may not even directly lead to what your prototypes were. Let's see an hypothetical feedback for the QR. You might hear, this was so much faster than logging in and the whole going and pinging into your server, coming back. This was much faster. But we hated the OTPs, guy. Like, please remove it. I don't want one messages to come and I don't want to type them. Can you keep the login screen minimal? And someone could come up with a shocking response like, what if someone else uses my QR code and they misuse the bandwidth? How would you know? These could be your feedbacks for your different prototypes. Testing validates usability before committing to tech. For example, in Instagram's case, if you had known what Instagram was originally, it was actually a check-in app. It's called the Bourbon. If you knew like years before what Instagram was. During the testing insights, user only loved one feature, the, the ability to share photos with filters. What testing revealed was people didn't care about check-ins. Like they thought they're building check-ins because in Europe and in US, people love traveling. They wanted to show off where they traveled to. Hey, look, I was in Japan. Hey, look, I was in Europe. But in reality, people never cared about those things. They cared about, they were obsessed actually about the photo enhancements. Filters made ordinary photos feel special. Sharing with friends created instant engagement. The outcome of testing is that Instagram removed everything except for photos and filters. If you noticed back in those time in Instagram, we would have these pictures slapped with bizarre filters. Like we would have pink filter, blue filter, all of this on. Like we'd feel so cool about it. Now we are all moved into the more real pictures, I understand, but at least back in those times. There used to be tutorials how to achieve that particular filters also. The key takeaway here is testing drives elimination of these unnecessary features that you would spend most of your energy and your resources on. Elimination drives focus. What is your product actually about? And that focus drives to success. With that, we have these 5 stages: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. Let's put all of these together. What we have learned. Empathize is not focusing on the problem that you are solving, but the problem your users are truly feeling. Guys, this applies for everything. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your startups, everything. You don't empathize on the problem, you actually try to understand what they are feeling. Then we define. We don't define the problem as what they are. We define it by understanding the pain point and the root cause. And we define it from that. We don't say something's not working or this is the problem, but we try to understand what the root cause is and then define the problem based on that. Then we ideate. Here, like I said, we don't judge, we don't plan feasibility, we don't jump and criticize, we put everything on the table. We have to expand as much as we can. And then comes the prototype stage. This stage is all about the most survival way of applying your idea. Just like how Iron Man did it. He built his suit in a cave, guys, not in a fancy lab. And that pushes you to a lot of your survival neurons that can come up with amazing solutions that you never thought about. And then testing. This is where every magic happens. You will face the reality, the harsh reality. You don't judge your users for hating your product, saying that they don't need you at all, but you listen. This is the only stage that validates your product. This is the only time you can come to face the reality whether your product is something that you want or they want. It cannot be validated by you, not me, not your friends, but the users themselves. So, like we said, this whole design thinking process is not a straight line. It's not a linear line. Like I have to go through empathize, ideate, prototype, this. No, it's a loop. You keep doing it until you hit those market. You keep looping it, and if you think you can have to ideate again, or if you think you can, if you think you can also prototype a new idea that you had, you keep looping it. Your creativity has to be exploding in this stage. You have to think like nobody else has, and also be extremely user centric. It's all about your users. Your customers are everything. So, with that, we will end our session. And like I mentioned, design thinking is not actually a theory, it is a discipline. It keeps founders like us grounded in real user behavior. It prevents wasted efforts. It sharpens your clarity. It helps teams build solutions that are desirable, feasible, and viable. So let's move on to the question and answer time, guys. We have, I think, another good 10 minutes, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Sindhu. That was a very, very insightful session.
thank you.
The chat box is open to anybody that has any questions.
Okay.
Let me also keep an eye on the chat box. We can give it a few minutes if we have any questions that keep coming in.
Sure.
Do we have any questions? We have a few more minutes.
Yes.
Well, at the moment, we don't have any questions. What if people have a very foresight idea, but the product doesn't click with users?
Can you come again? Where can I see the questions?
On the chat,
Yeah, I opened the chat and I'm not able to see the comments.
there
I can
might
only
be.
see it on.
Okay, I'll repeat the question for you. This is
Yeah.
a question from, oh yeah, Archana.
Okay.
And
Okay.
she says, what if we have an idea, which is when she says foresight idea, I'm guessing
Mm-hmm.
she means, hey, I'm thinking way ahead into the future, but the
Okay.
product doesn't click with users.
See, that's when you actually face also the reality. The point is to, yes, lovely, you have a very futuristic idea, just like how James Cameron waited for 10 years to create Avatar. You should have that, the patience to actually wait for that 10 years to make sure your idea comes into place. But in that 10 years, you have to constantly keep working on those technology. If it's technology that you think it's more futuristic, or if you think it's the resources, you'll keep putting those efforts on that. But sometimes you may have to wait because amazing products, great ideas, sometimes they get washed away because it's on the wrong time as well.
Thank you for that. Any follow-up questions,
Thank you,
Archana?
Archana, for the amazing question, by the way. I saw another question, but I couldn't read it.
What is
Oh,
the
yeah.
real
Now it's
difference
loading.
between normal problem solving and design thinking?
Okay, great. So what do you think normal problem solving is? Actually, okay, I'll tell you how I used to solve problems back in those times and then how I started applying design thinking and what the difference was. Sometimes problem solving comes with a lot of our imagination and restrictions that we put ourselves. Okay. So we come up with a problem. There is, you can even validate that this is a true problem. Okay. But you start solving the problem using technologies and you try to solve it how you want the users to adapt it. But design thinking is a very user centric problem solving. You're not using technology to solve this problem, or you're not using any particular material or mediums to solve this problem. We try our best to understand the users and we actually try to solve the problem for them. I'll give you an example here. So, my very own company, we what we do is voice cloning for actors. Okay. And during the entire AI boom, which was I'm talking about much early in 2001s and 2002s, that's exactly when AI is coming into everyone's everyone's sight. Like we are all seeing there's something AI is going to come take wipe away the jobs, things like that. We had this idea that we personally felt it was very frustrating. One was watching Avengers in Tamil, especially in Vijay Sethupathiy's voice. I love Vijay Sethupathi, guys, like no offense. But the point here is the problem was how we connected with the movie because someone else dubbed it. Now you try to solve that problem by understanding do everybody feel the same thing? Then let's come up with the technology like how AI can solve it. It took 2 years for us to first understand the market. What are we actually solving for? Why should it even be solved? Do people actually need it? These questions helped us really narrow us into that one particular path that we were going to take. It was languages. It was not the actor's voice. It was nothing. It is the language and the emotions people want to feel coming from the actors itself. What if RDJ could feel Tamil and he can say some emotions from his own way of telling it? That's what we want to solve. So to answer your question, Sonia, that I think that would be the difference. How normal problem solving would be directly targeting the problem itself. A design thinking would come from a user centric and ways to solve it in other ways possible.
I think the next question is how can design thinking help students in engineering fields like computer science and mechanical?
Like I said, take everything out, like take technology, because we discussed about Airbnb, we discussed about Amazon, we discussed about Spotify. We could even discuss about drone companies if you want, because none of these companies want to actually solve some great technological problems. Drone companies right now wants to solve how people are finding it difficult to water their acres of land. That's what they want to solve. They don't want to solve, hey, look, I know how to make a machine fly with uh five what do you call that? Five, I don't know the name.
The little, yeah, I have 1 second.
That's okay. Yeah, I think there'll be someone who could help us with that. It is
If
not
anybody
about,
knows the answer, put it in the chat. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So it is not about solving it with some engine answers or telling this technology could fix it or that technology could actually understanding defense. Yeah, someone has said wings, motors,
BLDC
and wings.
motors and wings. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prithvi.
We learned
So
something new today as well.
yes, yes, thank you for that. So, and I'm actually working with a drone company. My team is going to be pissed off with me. So, yeah, guys, when you get too much into understanding the user's problem, you actually stop worrying about what your products could do. or whether your products can do it or not. You will find 1 million ways to tackle that problem. So I think that's exactly why design thinking could help any fields. It could be a small startup to a large company, an engineering field, a chemical field. It's about addressing what your users truly want.
I think the next question is from Prithvi, which is how can we improve our problem solving and design thinking skills? And ideally, how can we practice these skills?
Good. That's a nice question, Prithvi. Uh, so let's take the second step which we mentioned. I think it was the ideate. It was the ideate stage, if I'm not wrong. Okay, it's the define stage. All right. So during define stage, what happens is for us, it comes naturally. We don't have these stages written on some wall and we try to follow it step by step. We let it flow. We have to, like I gave you certain options of interviewing your users. If you already have a prototype, you don't say anything. You give the prototype to that person and ask them to try it. They may like it, they may not understand it, but you don't even try to explain them anything. You don't even tell them how to solve it. But this closed room discussion is what we call is one of the most efficient way of starting design thinking or inducting design thinking into your product itself. So practice user-centric interviews, closed room discussions, and experiencing your prototype without giving them any context. These are simple experiments to improve your design thinking skills.
Got it. We have a few more questions. What is the most important part of design thinking? I'm just going to read out a few so that if you can club your answer because we don't have too much time.
Okay.
What is the most important part of design thinking? What makes this idea unique compared to existing solutions? Sonia, which idea are you referring to? If you could give us a little bit more context. And what was your approach in conceptualizing this idea, and how did you engage stakeholders to support it?
Emmanuel, that's a very interesting question. Okay. Uh, to be honest, in my own startup, I'll tell you, it was 2 years of not trying to please the investors. It was 2 years of learning our own product at every possible ways. It requires a lot of patience, to be honest, because patience is an amazing testing factor when it for us starters, startup founders especially. You don't have to worry about the stakeholders for some time. Let's put that in pause. I know the importance of it. I know how frustrating it can become, especially when you invested your hard time, soul, money, everything into your startup. They are the point of validation itself. But before you conceptualize, what they actually really love is how far do you know about your market? Do you really know about your market? Have you done your market study? Do you know whom you're serving for? Because trust me, for you, he's one stakeholder. For him, he would have come across multiple startup ideas. And all of those ideas are great. That's the whole point. Yours, mine, everyone's startup ideas is great. Where it actually differs is as you as a founder, have you done enough research about your users' behaviors? Why would they want your product? Why would they need your product? And do you have answers for that? This is exactly how you convince your stakeholders, not convince your idea into their minds, but you actually tell them, listen, I know my market too well. I know what I'm doing, to whom I'm serving for. Now you tell me whether you want to be part or not. This is how you approach a stakeholder, and this is how you get their support as well.
Great. The
And
next question is how do I validate my software ideas if I don't know who my users might be? And maybe you can cover a small point about how empathy has improved the final product in a real life experience, I mean, in a real life example that you might know of.
Okay.
So I think that's the two. And we also have how to build a design thinking.
Okay. Okay. I will first address this question. How do I validate my software ideas if I don't know who my users might
Exactly,
actually?
exactly B. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. All right. So when you came up with the software idea, I hope you also weighed in the fact that whom you're going to use it for, like whom you want to give it for, because that answers most of your questions. Like if you're creating a software like Affinity, or a Canva software, or you're creating Team software, you would have thought the first users would be this people, like they are creative people, or they're management people, they're corporate people. You It could be even a larger category, but you would have made the software for someone. I'll give you a very interesting story for this. Have you guys seen the JCBs, like this really huge JCBs that used to take sand and all of this? When JCB was doing their market research, they found out that Rajasthan was the biggest buyers of JCBs, and they couldn't understand why. I mean, there are larger construction works going on around the country, but why is Rajasthan buying the most JCBs? You would have, you will be actually surprised by the answer. In Rajasthan, there was a ritual for marriage. Whoever gifts a JCB, from the girl side to the groom side, it is considered as a big, amazing marriage. It's a big fat Indian wedding if you present the JCB. That's how you would even come out with user uh like people who might even become your customers that you had no idea about. So be open. If you have a larger category, test it with them, and then you will have these subcategories you never imagined about. So it's all about first letting yourself know which category you are targeting, and then trying to find the subcategory after that. Someone asked me, can you share me one real example where empathy improved the final product?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my own product, because I did give you a different big product example, but for us to feel more relatable, for me to feel more relatable, for my own company, Over Studio AI, we tried to understand what was the emotion behind these audience while watching the movie in a different language. How did you feel watching a Hindi movie when you didn't understand anything? Or how did you feel watching the same Hindi movie in your own language and the dubbing is so terrible? Not just the dubbing is terrible, but the translation is even worse. So these are the things. Without influencing, we wanted the users to tell us, we wanted the users to educate us, because we thought, we came from a perception that if they listen to the same voice in the original actor's voice, the problem is solved, because all we have to do is voice cloning, we have the technology. But when we interacted with these users, the audience, the actual end users of these products, we understood that they had much bigger problems. They didn't feel that the people who were translating these voices or dubbing these voices even understood Tamil. They felt like it was just plain sight spoken in Tamil, but the emotion of Tamil was missing. These are the real insights helped us when we empathize with the user. And like I said, it's not just two users, there's another side of the users. What happened to the producers? What happened to the actual actors? How did they feel about it? So it's a multi-end. When you're bridging a problem, there is always another side to it, which you all definitely have to focus on. In our case, the producers, they felt like they're spending so much money into dubbing. And for what? Poor quality. And the actors, they felt like, I look like this, but my voice looks like different. What is this? My entire image is getting compromised. Now, but doesn't mean that I'll just give up my voice, give up my voice IP to you. What if you use my voice and do something else? Like you propaganda it with something else. So we came up with waltz for them. This is how you understand both ends of these users, try to understand and empathize with their problems and come up with solutions. Can we combine design thinking ideas with the AI technology? Nowadays, if I'm understanding this question, like I have, I want to do design thinking, and if I don't have a team, can I combine it with AI technology? Is that how I have to understand it, Joel? Or are you asking me, can it be applied for AI technologies? Because okay, if how do I ideate with AI technologies? See, nowadays there are many platforms specifically trained for certain things. Like for example, Claude is great for coding. Gamma is great for presentations. And if you go for GPTs like Chat GPTs, they're amazing LLM models. And if you take DeepSeek, they're very good at deep research. They have been trained specifically for certain uses. So if you want to brainstorm, I would still not suggest you to go for ChatGPT, but if you use a ChatGPT, sometimes it will convince you to believe that your idea is great. That's where you should probably not engage too much with an AI, but rather you can prompt it in such a way, be as blunt as possible. How can you apply this particular stage with me? But to be honest, guys, going in person and speaking with your users is the best way to do it. AI will definitely help, probably to increase productivity, like packaging this better, like using, if you want to do a prototype, you can use a Claude, you can use an Emergent, you can use a Lovable, Figma, things like this obviously will help. But honestly, for design thinking, human interaction is the top tier way to handle it. Saranya, is it time's up? Should we wrap it?
Yes, we can wrap it up now. Thank you so much, Sindhu. I have gone ahead and I've put your LinkedIn in the chat also,
Yes.
so students can reach out to you. And I know we are up on time. Thank you so much for your time. This was a really
Thank you,
insightful session,
guys.
and I'm hoping everybody had a good session as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Stay tuned to find out more about the exciting workshops that we have coming your way. Thank you, Sindhu. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.